What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we are back with our final conference tournament predictions video of the year, and it is the AAC conference. The reason we're doing this one last is because the games don't start until Thursday. Most of the other conferences, they start on Wednesday, and for the ACC, they start today on Tuesday. So some really good games here today. If you guys missed them, all the Power 6 are up on the channel along with the Mountain West Conference as well. This is our 8th one, so make sure you guys go check those out and subscribe for daily college basketball March Madness coverage here on the channel. But let's get it started. So our first games on Thursday, we do have East Carolina going up against South Florida. And I'm not going to lie, maybe I'm tripping, but I feel like South Florida is just way better than East Carolina. Like, whenever these two played, I remember I was watching this game, I think in Texas Roadhouse. Like, it was on, and South Florida was just dominating East Carolina. And South Florida has some really good athletes on their team. Like, they dunked the ball a lot. So I'm taking South Florida Bulls to move on to the quarterfinals to face Houston. Next up, we do have SMU going up against Central Florida, and I'm going to take Central Florida. Central Florida is a team that, they were off to an amazing start. Like, they were top 4 in this conference, 100% a top 4 team in this conference. Like, you had Houston, you had Memphis, you had Tulane, and then it was Central Florida. It wasn't until like recently where teams like Temple and Cincinnati really started to play good and passed up Central Florida and even Wichita State. So I could see why some people might want to pick this upset because Central Florida hasn't really been playing that good. But I'm not a big believer in this SMU team. I don't think they're that good. So I do think that Central Florida will get past them and make it to the quarters to face Memphis in that round. Next up, our final first round matchup, we do have Tulsa going up against Wichita State, and Tulsa is just terrible, man. So we are going with Wichita State, the Shockers, to not pull off a shocking victory, just a game they're supposed to win and knock off the terrible Tulsa team in the first round. So next up, we have our quarterfinal matchups. We do have the South Florida Bulls going up against the Houston Cougars. And can South Florida let's just talk about this. Do we think that South Florida has any shot at knocking off Houston in the quarters? Me personally, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think there's much to talk about here. I think Houston, even though South Florida has some really good athletes, I mean, this Houston team is just filled with really good 3-and-D NBA level players. So, yeah, the Cougars are moving on to the semis pretty easily. Okay, next up we do have Temple versus Cincinnati and the 4 versus 5 matchup. This is one of the matchups I'm looking forward to the most. I'm pretty sure when these two teams played in Cincinnati, it went to either overtime or double overtime. I was watching that game. Fantastic game. I'm pretty sure Cincinnati came out with that win, although they were home court. I think I'm going to go with Temple here to move on, the 5 over the 4, and the Temple Owls move on past Cincinnati. And I could see this one honestly going to overtime or even double overtime. So, yeah, it's going to be a fantastic game either way. This Temple-Cincinnati game, as coin flip as it gets, I'm going to take Temple Owls, even though Cincinnati maybe has been the hotter team recently. Next up, we do have Central Florida going up against Memphis. They've actually played in some really good games this year, and even though Central Florida hasn't been playing all that great recently, I do think that it will still be a pretty close game. However, with that being said, I am going to take Memphis to get by to the semifinals and get past Central Florida. I think it will be a really good game. Kendrick Davis clutches up down the stretch. Give me the Tigers to move on. Wichita State versus Tulane in our next matchup. Don't sleep on Wichita. I definitely feel like they could possibly make a run, but I think they get a tough draw here. I think Tulane is pretty good. I think it's pretty easy to say that the top 3 seeds will be in the semis, that being Tulane, Memphis, and Houston. I could see some upsets happening. Like, I could definitely see or Central Florida maybe pulling off an upset over Memphis, or Wichita pulling off one over Tulane. But I think it's pretty fair to say that these three teams will be in the semis versus either Temple and or Cincinnati, whoever wins that one, to join them. At least in my opinion, it seems that way. But we do have round 3 between Houston and Temple. Temple did knock off Houston this year, gave them one of their 2 losses on the season in Houston. But Houston did return the favor. They did go into Philly and defeat Temple. So round 3, what are we thinking? I think Houston's going to dominate them. Like I don't think that this one's going to be that close. Honestly, I mean Temple's going to be playing hard and stuff like that, but the second half of the second Houston Temple game, Houston was dominating. Marcus Sasser is going to be on a tear in this tourney. Give me Houston. Give me Houston to move on, man. But this is the real matchup I'm looking forward to. I hope we get Memphis Tulane again in the semifinals. I need this matchup, man. I need this matchup to happen. So Memphis, Tulane, you got Jalen Cook going up against Kendrick Davis. You got DeAndre Williams going up against Kevin Cross. I mean, this is a matchup I need to see once again. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to go with the slight upset here, and I'm going to take Tulane to move on. I really like Kevin Cross as a player, man. He's a really good passer for being at the forward position. And I like Tulane in this game, man. They're a deep team. Memphis has some hoopers on their team as well. And Kendrick Davis is not going to be easy to get out of this tournament. But I am going to take Tulane to move on to the championship to face the Houston Cougars. So we do have our championship matchup set between the 1 seed Houston and the 3 seed Tulane. And I'm not going to lie, I really wanted to take Tulane in this matchup, and I really wanted to take Tulane to win the AAC championship. They have such a solid team, such a deep team. But I have to go with Houston. I did not want to pick Houston to win the AAC championship in their last year in the conference before they head over to the Big 12. But it's just so difficult to pick against them. I think the best shot Houston has at losing is going up against Memphis in the championship. But if Tulane knocks out Memphis, I don't know if I can see Tulane getting it done as much as I want to see that. Like, Tulane, Jalen Cook, a very solid squad, but they lock him up, man. Both times Houston has faced Tulane this year, they beat them by 20 points. I just don't see it happening, even though I would love to see it happen. But that is going to do it for my AAC conference tournament predictions. Make sure you guys go check out my other Power 6 conference championship predictions. They are up on the channel and also the Mountain West as well. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching.